this September 18th, 2025 meeting of the Downtown Design Commission. My name is Kayla Copeland and I am the chair of the commission. The agenda and documents are located at https://okc.primegov.com/public/portal. You would then select the Downtown Design Commission meeting, then click on an agenda item and the relevant documents will come up below the items. Please see the agenda for additional information regarding meeting procedures and the review process. If you are parked in the Sheridan Walker parking garage north of John Rex Elementary School or in the Arts District parking garage south of City Hall, staff can provide a parking validation ticket for you today. Keith, will you please call roll?
Copeland.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Blatt. Here. Sewer.
Here.
Here, quorum.
Thank you. So we'll move to item 2, which is approval of the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a pause in the system. Would you like to do it verbally, Keith? Okay.
Copeland.
Yes.
Blatt.
Yes.
Sewer. Yes. Schmidt.
Yes.
And it is approved. Our screens are stuck. Thank you. It worked.
It just blipped.
Okay. Number 3, cases withdrawn. There are none. Item number 4, continuance requests. There are none. Item number 5, consent docket. We'll go to item A, DTCA 25-00067.
So this would be a motion just to approve the consent docket unless somebody wants to pull it for discussion. There's basically been no changes to it since you approved it 2.5, 3 years ago. And they've been doing some utility work. They just didn't get their extension in time. So that's why it's on the consent agenda. We're excited for them so we can actually physically see that they're
Great.
the
So do
work.
we need to actually do?
You actually would have you'd be calling for a motion to approve the consent
Okay.
docket.
Could I have a motion for the consent?
I'll move to approve the consent docket.
I'll second.
And it passes. Item number 6, case for individual consideration. For Bricktown, there are none today. With the downtown cases, we have a couple. So item A, DTCA-25-00061.
We click on the pictures. So this is a request. The building had been unpainted brick and it has been painted. So all of the work that's on your agenda today for approval has already been done. There was also a window that had been replaced on the back side, the alley side. So this is up on 12th. And this happens to be a Google Earth picture from last year, just so you can see what it looked like before. And this is what it looks like now. So the brick was painted and the trim was painted, the seals and everything around the windows. This is the alley side, and so this window here is the one that had to be replaced because of water damage. Water was coming in and they had to replace brick down below it. So that you can see in this picture the brick that was replaced. And I was just doing a close-up to show we've had some that have come before you that have not had good coverage when they've painted bricks, and this one does. I couldn't see any of the brick color through the paint. And this is adjacent to the west, the Walford Apartments. The building that's on for consideration today was also constructed as an apartment building. And then this is to the north across 12th, which is the Edge development. And this is to the south across the alley is the Boulevard building. And let's go back. So as I said, this work has already taken place, but the commission is supposed to look at it as though it hadn't taken place, which is a hard concept for me because it has already been done. According to the Phase 2 Intensive Level Survey of Downtown Oklahoma City from 2010, this building is individually eligible for the National Register. There has been no application for that. The city is not trying to do that, but that is, to me, important information to consider. Prior to the Downtown Design District in 2007, portions of this area went to the Urban Design Commission for exterior work, and I always have to remind myself that I need to look in all those old files to see what had occurred. And in 2005, there was a dilapidated building at the rear of the property that came forward and got approved to be demolished. 2006, they got approved to replace roof shingles, add a handicap ramp, and replace windows and replace doors. I have, since 2015 when I came, there have been a couple of things that I've done. One was they came forward in 2016 to put a metal sliding gate at the alley. And then in 2019, they changed the color when they installed some new roof shingles, and so they had to get a CA. I will note that the current owner has purchased that since all of these approvals. So, issues and considerations. This is a guideline, which is in the Building Conservation and Rehab Guidelines for Oklahoma City, talks about not painting unpainted brick. And I've included that information in the staff report. The building was constructed around 1922, depending on what source you look at. And in the application, the applicant included some information which I've quoted in your staff report. And I shouldn't have backed all the way out, should I? No, let me just go there. Explaining what had happened, why it had happened, and what they had done. He indicates that there was leakage, so water infiltration around that window, and damaged the window, damaged the brick, and they had to replace the window and replace the brick. And he indicates that they were unable to match the brick because of the age of the brick. And he said the purpose for painting the building was to seal and protect the original brick as well as to make the building look uniform in its appearance. At that time, with the application, he provided pictures of surrounding buildings. We have Mexican Radio that recently went in and Lorena. Those buildings had previously been painted, and I don't know when they were painted. And in the last couple of years, when they came forward with the new restaurants moving in, part of their CA application was to paint different colors, which got approved because they had already been painted. So staff does acknowledge there are painted brick buildings around there. They have been painted for quite some time. Painting is typically not an effective method for stabilizing brick, preventing leaks and other moisture issues, or any other repair attempts. In contrast, it is possible that this solution will just exacerbate the problem by sealing in moisture, which can result in brick cracking, spalling, deteriorating, and/or effervescing. Paint can also make it more difficult to see ongoing issues in a timely manner. Since the painting has already been completed, it will be more difficult to explore other solutions. Removing paint from brick can permanently damage the brick. Damage to the face of the brick can result in the brick becoming sponge-like, allowing water to soak into the brick. While there are chemical methods of paint removal, the effectiveness of those depends on the type and the condition of the brick. As you know, staff does not support painting unpainted brick, but is concerned about potential damage to the brick from attempting to remove the paint. So we have some options for you to consider, and obviously you can come up with your own options. One would be to approve the application. Or you could deny the application with the condition that the applicant remove the paint from the building, because if you deny it, then we need to actually have some direction about, well, you're saying no paint it, but so you need to tell them what it was you need them to do. Or you can continue the application with the condition that the applicant research methods of paint removal, working with a qualified professional, and test the removal methods in a discrete location, and report back to the commission with results, including photographic documentation. And staff would note that sandblasting and power washing is not an approved method to be used, because that would really damage the brick. Do you have questions for staff?
I do, but it might be a larger question that involves council, which is to say, I think this is maybe the 5th or 6th application we've seen this year where we are reviewing something that someone has done to a building, and we're supposed to look at it through the lens of they have not done it. And a lot of it is painting brick or painting masonry. And I wonder if there is a better enforcement mechanism that can be established about fines through the lens of paying for mailers to property owners within the jurisdiction to remind them that they can't just do what they want to their building. So we have lawyers that have bought something who thought they had the right to do something to their building, but they're lawyers, and they should probably look into their land use under their building. But there is uneducated people that own property that paint something in a way to try and save or establish control over it. And they could come in and say, well, I didn't know. And it seems like we're experiencing that a lot. And it's just kind of like, we've spent a lot of time talking about this year.
Well, one comment that I will make, because you mentioned enforcement. This was actually turned into code enforcement. So the way that process would work, let's just say they didn't submit their application, but they did because they called me right away. So if they didn't submit an application or they didn't follow through with that, and code enforcement sent it to court, because through municipal court, that action typically is they have a fine and they don't make them do anything, which means then the next day somebody could turn it in as another violation. And it's this vicious circle, and we never end up with a solution. So what I'm hearing you say is you were talking about educating people and having some type of fine system to help fund that education of people.
Yeah, and I mean, I recognize, like, look, bureaucracy and funding mechanisms, very complicated. It's just, we have seen this over and over and over this year. And like, how do we make sure property owners know that they own property within a jurisdiction that requires you to think before you do anything to your property?
So just generally as a response, I think that would be a policy determination for council to create, as far as like kind of the proactive nature of what you're talking about. It's not that it's a bad idea, it's just that that's going to be outside of our scope here, but certainly something that could be done should the policy creators deem it to be worthwhile.
Does HP handle this differently?
I'm sorry.
Does HP handle this differently?
No,
HP can speak to
HP
that.
is really the same process. I would say in the context of a neighborhood, people are maybe a little quicker to turn things in because you're paying more attention to the house next door to you and people coming and going and workers and that sort of thing than maybe you are when you're just a tenant in a building downtown and the guy next door is doing some work and it's not really affecting you. So I think enforcement, sometimes things get caught quicker and they get caught before they're so far along that there's no turning back, kind of, just because of the nature of how those districts are. But it's basically the same process. If something is done without a CA and is turned in, they get a notice of violation, then they apply for that CA retroactively. The commission's asked to review it as if it had not yet occurred. Or the alternative is, as Laura said, to proceed through the enforcement process to court and all of that.
For residential properties, when they purchase their house, is there documents, would there be documents included in their closing package that says, you're in a district, and these are the rules of this district? I'm thinking about, covenants, restrictive covenants and bylaws type things. That's neighborhoods. But are there anything in an HP district that when you buy a house, you are notified, you have some obligation within the district?
So there aren't any covenants because they're not HOAs.
Right.
On the disclosure form, there is a box to check that, to the best of the seller's knowledge, among other things, the property is in a historic district. My understanding from talking to some realtors is that depending on who's doing the buying and the selling, that's not all, sometimes that's very clearly communicated, sometimes it's not. There is not a big bright red form that you have to sign that says, I know I'm in a historic district. So that's a challenge as well. Some of our realtors that do a lot of work in the districts are very good at informing people, and sometimes things get bought and sold and people aren't aware.
So same thing, whenever
Yeah.
commercial properties are bought and sold, is there anything that says you're in Riverfront, you're in UDC, you're in DDC? Is there anything
I
that
don't
would be
believe
in-
so.
Okay, all right.
Laura, could you show us the window photo one more time, please?
You said the window photo?
Yeah. The one, yeah, okay. That's the one I would like to see.
That one or the other one? That
This
one?
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is a photo that the owner is here, that he has included, and I think it was in the application, that shows that repair work after it was done before they painted it.
Would the owner like to come speak?
Yes. Hey, good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's John Martino. I do own that building there. My wife and I, Erica, own that building. I am an attorney. The building houses attorneys. I'm a criminal defense attorney. So although it's no excuse, certainly should learn the rules and regulations and ordinances in relation to property that I own. I had no idea. Before I address those specific photographs, I want to have an understanding, because of the questions Mr. Blatt asked. Obviously, you're asking, is there any notice given to a buyer? I moved here in 2015 from Baltimore. My wife is from Moore, Oklahoma. We had children. We relocated back here. I had rented an office in that building that was owned by Mark Mitchell and Gary Hammond. They're the ones who purchased it and in a dilapidated form and completely redid the building down to the studs. The interior is very nice. And they did all of that around 2008. I moved in there in 2015 and rented from them. In 2022, I had the opportunity to purchase the building because Mr. Mitchell was retiring. Mr. Hammond is still a tenant of mine. He's been in that building the entire time. He's seen everything I've done in that building. In fact, I've asked him questions about, well, where's this and that in the building, because he owned it for 12 years. And when I began to do the things I did to it because of the problems that we saw, I mean, he didn't say anything to me about that. Not necessarily that it was his job to do so, but the sale from Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Hammond to myself and my wife, there were no real estate agents involved. We did it all ourselves. Like Ms. Frito was saying, if there was something on a disclosure form that he signed, I didn't see it. I don't know that if he even knew that he had to do that. It seems like in hearing from Ms. Griggs that the Downtown Design Commission requirements came along at some point around or after they owned the building, because he didn't have to go to them for some things he did. And I think you referenced Mr. Schmidt as a tenant in a building. I mean, you see things happening in a building, but you don't know the underlying cause for why it's happening or the things that go into making it happen. And certainly not my position to ask the owners, how did you make this happen? And I will say too that, seeing what's happening around you without knowing why they're doing it or noticing that a building has been painted. And I'm specifically referring to Lorena, which used to be 1492, and Lori, who owns Stella, who I know very well, purchased that and built it out and made it better. And I guess 1492 was painted before that, but I see her change all of that. I see Mexican Radio that used to be Louis, become painted bright different colors. And my purpose for doing what I did was for protection of the building, in my estimation. And my contractor is here, and he can tell you a little bit about what they did and used as far as protecting the brick. And you have to look at where you are and what you're observing in your area. And I don't think that it was obvious to anyone that doing what we did would have been in violation. And I say that too. I think another pertinent point about that is the window and the door. I guess if I just click, I can move. Okay. So this is Lorena, Mexican Radio, right around the corner in the backyard of my building. This is the area that we had leakage in. This was the first thing that I started to notice, and then, because there was water inside of this office on the floor. And then I started looking at other places. Down in the basement, at the foundation of the building, I started to notice there's moisture there. Okay, well, if it's leaking up here by the window, where else are there places where there's adjoining, foundation brick where there might be leakage? And I started to see these things, okay? And that looks like it's been there for a long time. And I don't go in the basement and look every day. But obviously I then got Mr. Gasky to come in and take a look at this. And what he determined, I'll let him tell you, is that we believed that the seepage down at the base of the building through the brick was causing that mold area down in the basement. And then obviously it was pretty relevant and obvious that the brick that was damaged at the back window and the water that was coming in had to do with the seal of that window and or brick. So we went ahead and did that window in August of '24. That was not a short, quick, easy job. It took them a long time. We were openly, notoriously working on it. We weren't hiding it. And again, not knowing that I needed to have any type of approval, we didn't hide it. We weren't trying to. We were trying to fix the building. And again, not an excuse, but certainly a relevant issue here. No one came to me and said, you need approval to do this. And so we've completed that, and then we continue to discuss how do we address the issue of the foundation leakage. And we came up with the idea that we would paint the entire building. And Mr. Gasky can tell you the materials that they use, but there's some type of sealing paint. This was the inside, where there was water on this floor before we were able to fix this. And then this is what it looked like as well after the job was done. And it worked. It sealed it as far as that part's concerned, not addressing the base. But we were then trying to figure out how do we address the leakage in the base, and then how do we make it look congruent so that the building doesn't look completely different from itself or from anything else in the area. And quite frankly, everything else in the area is painted pretty vibrant, bright colors. And if we were able to do that with addressing the unforeseen conditions that could come or protecting the structure, then that's what we wanted to do. So I will, if you have any questions for me, certainly I'll take any questions, but I also want to have Mr. Gasky just explain to you what he did and why he thought it was appropriate.
Any questions? Okay, we'll move to him.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Do you guys want me to speak on what we did? Thank you. Good morning. My name is PJ Gasky. I own a company called Dysfunctional Family Properties. We are a inside-outside remodel company. We build outdoor structures, pergolas, covered patios, etc. Mr. Martino brought us in to look at a situation where that was leaking. We identified the leak was coming indeed from the brick. The roof was relatively new. Once we pulled the sheetrock off from the inside, we were able to see that truly it was the outside of the 2x4 studs were wet and starting to fail. The appropriate thing to do was to reframe the windows, put new windows in, seal everything up properly, put the brick around. We did that, solved the problem from that standpoint. Then we talked about the water that was coming in and protruding from into the basement. I did not think that the water was coming from the top all the way to the bottom, so I started walking the perimeter. This building is surrounded by asphalt and concrete with the exception of the front. The front has soil, grass, dirt, whatnot, where water can protrude. I'm sure you're aware, a lot of times in Oklahoma, because of our clay soil, basements fail, they leak all the time. So we get brought in to look at these and try to find ways to abate problems. When you're surrounded by soil, a basement's always gonna leak unless you rip all the way down, reseal up the cement footings and whatnot. In walking the building and seeing the areas that had water or damage on the inside in the basement, we were able to identify areas around the perimeter where brick met asphalt that looked to be consistent with where the water was coming in from the outside, and there were gaps in seals. So we sealed that up, used a Loxon primer. It's a brand called Loxon. It's made by Sherwin-Williams. It is specifically formulated for concrete and masonry work, brickwork. Then we also used what's called that black paint that you see is also a Loxon paint. It is a self-washing brick product. You always have concerns with dark colors in Oklahoma. We have the red soil. You don't want that building looking nasty. Red soil it'll tarnish white, it'll tarnish and stain colors of bricks. With that black and with this Loxon product, the reason it's so popular is because it has a self-washing component to it. If it's ever not looking nasty, you can go out and spray it with water. It's going to essentially clean itself. So that's another reason why we did what we did. Those are the products we used. I've had this company for 7 years now, and we do all kinds of exterior painting, interior painting, and remodeling products. So the fact that it's sealed up now, I mean, it's in good shape. I think that brick is well protected. And to Mr. Martino's point, I wish we would have known. I knew it wasn't historic, and whenever we go into a historic thing, we always ask the questions and get the approvals that we need to. Did not know that in this case.
Can I ask him one question?
Could you come up to the microphone?
Can I ask him one question to answer for you? And I don't know the answer.
Will you please move a little closer to
I'm
the
sorry.
mic? Yeah, you're fine.
Mr. Gasky, have you ever noticed or do you have any knowledge about whether or not painting of brick can actually, because the commission had said in their report that painting a brick can actually seal in moisture and cause more damage. What is your experience in that regard? Do you have any information or knowledge based on your training and experience as it relates to painting brick? Can it harm it? Can it not? Can it seal it? Can it help it? Along those lines.
So a lot of times when we come in to paint brick, exterior brick, we do an assessment on the inside of the building. We'll check to see if there is existing moisture. If there's not, there's no reason to think that the brick had failed to begin with. So that's more on a residential structure than on a commercial structure. We have done commercial paintings as well. In this case, with the water already on the inside, there's obvious that there was already brick protrusion, so sealing it on the outside, that water is still, if it's going to push, if it seals it in, it's still protruding on the inside. It's a problem that hopefully will eventually solve itself by sealing the outside. If the water's got to go somewhere, we always say when people call us, oh, well, can you find out where our ants and where our rodents are coming in? In wet seasons, we find it all the time. They've got to go somewhere. Water will always find a way. By sealing it on the outside and doing a good job sealing it both with the sealant that we put around the base of the building, plus the priming and the sealing, plus the paint, which is like I said, a specific composed for brick. If that water is going to continue to move, it will move to the inside, but it's already doing that. Eventually, it will dry out, in my opinion.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I think that there's a couple of things going on here. I mean, just for both of you, I'm not a proponent of painted brick, and I realize that once it's been painted, then we're in a tough spot, because if trying to remove the paint is going to damage the brick, then the solution is worse than the current condition. And with a wire cut brick, which is what you got, and with a raked mortar, which is probably old enough that it's soft, any method of trying to remove paint off of this brick is going to be problematic. I've used Loxon products. They're excellent. I've used them on the interior. I don't feel that the solution of sealing brick on the outside is the best way to do it. There are products that will become a water repellent but still breathe to the outside. And once you seal the outside, brick is unreinforced, it will crack, eventually moisture will get in, it's going to find its way, and once it's in, it doesn't have the way to vent out any longer, and that brick will eventually become moist, and it will either crumble or it will spall when it freezes. It's going to be a period of time. It's more of a when, not if. So yes, this brick just it has to be maintained. So now we're stuck with the three options of, do we say we're fine with it? I'm not fine with it. I would not tell you to take it off, though. I believe that what's needed and this is one of, is we need something from Sherwin-Williams and something from Acme Brick or a brick company that says, one, the product is not harming the brick in its state, and they'll probably give that to you because it's a pretty robust product. That's another reason. That robust product in the joints of a wire cut brick, it's just not going to come out. But the second side of this is Acme Brick should say to you, this is what you've done, and the best positioning for your building moving forward will be this. And it could be do nothing, it could be maintenance, it could be making sure that weeps are opening top and bottom so that the cavity will vent out. There's just some things that I believe that are going to be necessary for the best case scenario of this building long term. Had it not been Loxon products on this brick, and not seeing degraded brick in the up close pictures or anything that I could see from review, I would have probably asked for try to remove it. Try to see if you can take a piece off and what would it look like, but wire cut brick with Loxon products, I think you're going to rip the face off the brick, and then you're going to have a much worse scenario than what you have now. I think that there were some products that could have been used that wouldn't have changed the visual appearance as much as you have. Pro or con on that either way, but I do think that for me, we need some documentation for you, for your building moving forward, and how the motion shakes out of that, I don't know.
There's an option to continue the application. And I wonder if we add your request to that.
Do you take any exception to getting those two letters?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, it sounds like it's something that's reasonable and that we could seek out and hopefully get the right answers. And
Do you have any other thoughts?
My only additional thoughts are, thank you for moving to Oklahoma. Thank you for purchasing downtown real estate and being passionate about this neighborhood. Thank you for trying to save a piece of architecture that has historic character. So these are very positive things. I think we're about to talk about a case later that has a different viewpoint on that. So I appreciate the sentiment on trying to do the right thing. I think now is just, let's get some other paperwork that says it's doing nothing will be the least worst solution given where we are today.
understand. Absolutely.
And so I think probably there might be a stance that like you feel a little bit beat up and you're like, hey, this is my property, who's telling me what I can and can't do to my property? But it's like, I appreciate you trying to do what you can to save the building.
Thank you.
Just felt a little inconsistent with what some professionals think the correct thing to do was.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I've learned a great deal. For sure.
I don't have to have this come back if these can be delivered to staff?
So you could make a motion to approve with the condition
Sure.
and then reiterate what it is, the letters
Yeah.
that you're asking
Yeah.
them to provide
Okay.
to staff and put in the file.
And I would say if for some reason the letters that they get say this is having an adverse effect on the building, you need a new course of action, something needs to change, et cetera, we would bring that back to you all.
So we have a lot of people here, but we have a lot of cases on, so you still,
Yes.
there could be somebody else that,
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this? Okay, if not, if y'all are ready for a motion, I'd entertain.
I'll move to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with the condition that the owner bring back to staff 2 letters, one from the manufacturer of the Loxon primer and paint products, understood to be Sherwin-Williams, stating that the work that has been done is providing the intent and performance that was expressed this morning. And the second is from a local masonry company, Acme Brick or such, that says that they've reviewed the product and that the recommendation from the masonry company would be to not change the current condition or to provide some action. Just confirm if there's any additional action that needs
For
to
best
be-
care moving forward.
Yeah, for best care moving forward.
Understand, yes.
I'll second.
Your motion passes.
I would like to go on record to say I would like to recommend that staff communicate with policymakers about educating property owners moving forward. I think that would be warrantable given how many cases we've seen this year. So I would like to just go on record saying I would like that to happen.
Thank you, Eric. Also, before moving forward, that was a really great discussion. We'll try to limit our mic time to 3 minutes to keep honor with everybody's schedule today. So we'll move to item B, which is DTCA-25-00068.
oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I was talking and I didn't hear what you said. Did you go on to the next case, I'm assuming?
Yes, ma'am, item
Okay.
B.
So we are doing this one, right? Okay. So recently you had an item on your agenda for the Family Justice Center, which is Hudson 11th, that rectangle in here. And so this is an adjacent parking garage that's going in. It is going to be, and they can tell me if I misspeak, but my understanding is it's going to be open to the public, but the Family Justice Center will have spaces in it. And you'll be able to easily get to the Family Justice Center. So obviously, we've got a lot of construction going on, and so the pictures didn't really turn out the way most of them do, but this is looking south at the subject site. And this is looking more towards where the Family Justice Center is being built. And across the street, we have some office buildings, and then we have the Paulo Duro building. And then this is the parking lot that is immediately west of the subject site. And this was a Sunday, so I don't know where all these people were. It was pretty early on a Sunday, so there's a lot going on downtown on the weekends. So I will just go back to here. So there's been a parking lot or parking lots located at this location for extended period of time. This block has several parking lots, as you can tell from the aerial. And so this isn't a parking lot on a corner, so we don't have those issues to deal with. And we do have a few things for parking garages. This one checks most of the boxes for parking garages. The one issue that we discussed, which is a guideline, is the one dealing with ground floor facades, commercial buildings. And so the north street facade of the proposed parking garage isn't designed with any clear or tinted windows, because the guideline talks about at least 50% storefront building walls should consist of clear or tinted windows. and we've discussed this previously when parking garages have come in. The building code required openings in the facade provides openness and transparency. So you're seeing something here you see very rarely from me, but I'm referencing the DDF in the staff report. And so it established priorities for building frontages based on frontage types. And this property is located in an area designated as landscape zone, which calls for lower intensities of development, primarily residential, strategic location of surface parking, how it looks, and how it's accessed, and anticipation of deeper setbacks with softscape to enhance building frontage. Additional design guidelines in the DDF say no restriction for structured parking in the landscape zone. While street-level activation or space that could be converted to accommodate street-level activation at some point in the future is a preferred treatment for parking garages, it is not required in this location. So we have had some parking garages in the past, several years ago, probably before some of you were on this, but obviously Tony was already on it. We had one on Broadway that was coming in, and that one happened to be in a retail priority area. This is not. And we got that particular parking garage agreed to increase the floor to height distance, the height of the first floor level, so that it could be converted into actual usable retail space at some point in the future. That project never got built, but that's not the case here. So staff is recommending approval of this, and the architect is here if you have questions.
Any questions for staff? If you'd like to come speak.
My name is Spencer Wilson. I'm with Fitzsimmons Architects at 2721 North Walker Avenue. We were the designers for the parking garage to serve both the Palomar Family Justice Center and future developments around it. It is a fully open parking garage that we designed with an aluminum facade to screen the frontage on 11th Street. A lot of the way it was built because of the topography of the site. We have a 3-story facade along 11th, and it goes down to basically a 5-story facade on the portion that will be currently visible from Park. The Family Justice Center will have an entry that's closer to the Park side, and that is where elevator and circulation is for that. And we also have circulation at the front of the garage that serves 11th Street. So we're kind of, bisecting the block in that regard. So I guess and to confirm staff statement, the top 2 levels of the garage are dedicated to staff for parking for the Family Justice Center. So, and that was a point of safety for them, and that they didn't want people to be able to park up there without recourse that weren't associated with the facility. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
And it may be in your application, so I apologize if I missed it. Can you talk a little bit about the safety and security of the pedestrian that's walking by as cars are ingressing and egressing out of the garage?
Oh, yeah. So with that, we would be planning on a audible enunciator for that, but also, usual tactile strips for like a cane and everything getting closer to it. Do you have suggestions on additional measures that you would prefer to see?
No, I just want to make sure that it's been taken into consideration. It's something that comes up as precedent, so it's a pertinent topic.
And I apologize. Thank you for bringing that up. I missed that. So I've actually have a suggested condition that the sidewalk pathway across the entrances will be demarcated either by color, texture, or lines. And normally I would have already said that, and I apologize. You've heard that from me before, so.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And all the ADA, this doesn't appear to be a site that has any kind of a slope consideration, but that's all taken into consideration as well, and that's probably more of a permitting issue. I think it's attractive, and I really appreciate that there's some thought to some tree canopy, even though it's on the north side. I like that. I think that it feels good to walk along, and it's going to make some space that's nice for the pedestrian. I'm also a proponent of not spending money if it's not required. So transparency provided by openness, I'm good with here. And not spending money for something in the future that ultimately is just checking a box because it says that we would like it. So, especially considering what's going on adjacent sites, this feels really good to me.
I did have one question, actually. The planting bed that your street frontage trees are on, I was trying to gauge how wide that was. It looked around 4 feet.
It's 5.
5? Okay. It is a little tight for the health of a larger shade tree.
Which is why we chose the species that we did that had a smaller caniper and root
What
structure.
species did you choose?
It's a panicled golden rain tree, so it's one of the smaller street trees
Okay.
that's on the approved list for Oklahoma City.
It's not on it.
Oh,
Or I'm asking, did you say it is or it
it
isn't?
is,
Oh, okay.
yes. I mean, an alternative would be maybe like a skyline honey locust or something that's also has a slightly more compact root structure as an
Okay.
option as well. So,
I would just watch that during construction, with it being such a tight space. Even though the canopy is smaller, it will still have a bigger root system than the 5 feet provided. So if you have any control over compaction in that zone, that would be advised. Sometimes even like a supplement, like a structural soil or something like that is great for the success of the tree health too.
okay.
I appreciate that you have specified a canopying street tree, which is not historically something Fitzsimmons and Midtown have done on their projects, so I really appreciate that. The other thing that I like is that you've said future trees on the west side for after the completion of the adjacent development, which I'm assuming is associated with those things will get damaged during the construction of that other development. And
Correct.
I know you own both sides of that deal. So I would just say that when this thing comes back, those trees, since you've shown it today, we're going to make sure those trees show up on that future one, even though it's outside of your property, but it is your property.
That's understood.
I do think the structure and landscaping is very nice, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I should have also said, it's a pretty building. Good job.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
For a parking garage, it's great. Would we entertain a motion then?
Is there anyone
Or is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this?
Thank you for your time.
If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Laura, for the item that you wanted us to add,
Yes. Would you like me to say the wording?
Do we also, anything with regards to compaction? Is that something that's part of a motion, or is that just, it's good practice, they need to take care of that on their own?
I think that will fall under good practice
Okay.
today. Yeah.
Okay. So
gonna be
what
under the
I was
warranty of the tree.
requesting is that you include a motion that the sidewalk across the entrance exit drives from the parking garage be demarcated either by color, texture, or lines, and that the drive meets the sidewalk, not the other way around.
I'm going to move to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in section C and D of the staff report, with a condition that the applicant ensures that the sidewalk that crosses in front of the ingress and egress point of the vehicles will be demarcated by color, texture, or pattern.
Or boundaries, they can
or
just do
boundaries
lines.
as such, and that the road comes up to meet the sidewalk.
And that the sidewalk elevation remains constant.
The elevation of the sidewalk remains constant across that.
I'll second.
Thank you.
And that motion passes. So we'll move to item C, which is DTCA-25-00074.
Sorry, my monitor went off. It was on for a while, so let me see if I can see. Yes. Excellent. Okay, so the last time you had an application on this, your final vote was back in February, that you might recall. That it was submitted last year to demolish this structure. There was a specific request that you had for them dealing with, and I included that. Hang on a minute. You had requested the applicant obtain a letter from a structural engineer providing an understanding about what would be required to make the envelope, specifically the perimeter masonry envelope, safe and secure, with the assumption that the upper roof would potentially be removed and possibly both roofs removed. So this building had had a second roof added to it, and the owner had indicated that they're going to be selling this, but they wanted to demolish the building first. So this application came in. They have a different engineer who's provided different documentation. I included all of the documentation we received with the first application in your packet. And so this is the east facade of that, and then you can see the south facade, what would be the alley facade. And then this is looking at the south facade, alley facade. And you can see that according to this report we just got from Mr. Joyce, it was actually built as I'm going to call it the right building and the left building were built, and then they built the building in the middle that connected them. And so you can clearly see those three components in this picture. And then this is this was from Google Earth, but it was showing how they had a tarp over the top. The tarp is gone now. And so obviously there's been some damage. They were trying to keep water from going into the building. And so this is looking west. The subject site is on your left. And this is looking east. Subject site is on the right. And this is across the street. Oops. And then this is directly to the east is one of the Ozarka buildings. And then this is to the west. The property owner that's applied for this one also owns the property. If not all, almost all of the entire block that this is located in. And so I'm just going to go back to there. So this was originally built as a beer warehouse, which I thought was interesting. It was on the 1949 Sanborn maps. It was included in the 2012 Historic Preservation, there was resource identification form, and that said it was built in 1940. So I included all of the guideline information about demolition and all of the different criteria that we can consider. And then I included information that information hasn't changed from when you saw the report before, dealing with all the different criteria. The only thing that has changed is the fact that you have some new information from an engineer. Staff does believe that this is an historic resource, and we have a definition in the staff report of that, as well as an architectural resource. And there is another building further to the west of this that has some similar features with arches over the windows and that type of thing. So I included stuff from phase 4 of the intensive level survey that was talking about this period and this building. And then I included some quotes in here from the most recent engineering report under structural integrity. And so that information included, in their current condition, the exterior masonry walls are not even suitable to act as a veneer. The foundation they bear upon is not sound, and the walls themselves are cracked and out of plumb in several areas. The concrete floor slabs are cracked and unlevel. The current status of the building could represent a danger to the public. It has previously been demonstrated that the cost of rehabilitation or renovation is not economically feasible. Therefore, based on these facts and those previously presented, it is our professional opinion that the request to demolish this building be approved. And commission can consider any of the demolition criteria, as well as purpose and intent statements in your decision. And I'll just restate the fact that staff believes this building is an historic and architectural resource. So we have a couple of recommendations. Obviously, you can also come up with your own. One is, if you determine that this structure is an historic resource and an architectural resource, that the structure does not present an imminent threat to public health and safety, or that the proposed or anticipated future development does not outweigh the loss of these structures, we would recommend then, in that case, that you would deny the application. Or, and you can tell I took this from a report when you guys are still a committee. I apologize. Commission. If the commission determines that this structure is not an historic resource or an architectural resource, that the structure poses an imminent threat to public health and safety, or that the proposed or anticipated future development outweighs the loss of the structure, in that case, then we would recommend that you approve it. And the engineer is here, who is the applicant in this case. Do you have any questions for staff? Okay.
Would anyone in the audience like to speak on this?
Well, yeah, the applicant. John, if you want to come up. John, did you want your report brought up so you can refer to it?
Yeah, oh, actually, I love this picture right here.
Oh, so,
My name is John Joyce. I'm a structural engineer, live in Oklahoma City. I kind of consider myself a historic preservation advocate. I'm chair of the Preservation Review Committee in Crown Heights. I'd like to say just a couple of words about the property owners, one of whom is here with me tonight. This is Savannah Vogler. I've met Savannah, I've met her sister Vivian, I've met her mother Jennifer, I've met her father, I've met her grandfather. It's very much a family-owned business, people that have lived and care about Oklahoma City. This is sort of where their produce business kind of started. It's since moved to Northeast 36 near Lincoln. So I was going to make some kind of snide comment about, this isn't some carpetbagger from California coming in here, but after the first applicant today, who seemed like a great guy, I'll sort of refrain from that joke. But I will say that it's too bad that this application didn't come first, because what we're seeing here is that the east wall of the structure has been painted, and all the horrible things that Laura alluded to that can happen when masonry is painted have happened to this building. I'm not saying that's the only thing. I sort of suspect maybe the foundation was never, it's shallow foundations in Oklahoma are kind of hit and miss, just sort of depends upon the soil conditions. I don't think a whole lot of thought went into this one. I'll try to pick this up a little bit. So I was going to kind of try to tell you, as a structural engineer, a lot of times I get a phone call from an architect like the late, great Catherine Montgomery, who was, kind of famous for the preservation projects that she did, and I was kind of her engineer, and she would send me down to look at a school somewhere in Ardmore, or it could be anywhere in the state, Muskogee, a building somewhat similar to this. And the first thing that I would do, if it's a load-bearing masonry structure like this one, is you look at those outside walls and you say, hey, what kind of shape are these walls in? How bad are the cracks? How much is the movement, whatever? And that pretty well, if it doesn't pass that test, it's like you're dead in the water. Because what are you going to do? You're going to take down the brick, all the walls. It's not like the first applicant where the brick is just a veneer. No, this is load-bearing brick. So there's no propping it back into place. It's like the walls would have to come down. It's got some nice looking old metal trusses that are in great shape that we could reuse, but we'd have to completely rebuild those walls. Maybe not so much the nice looking north wall that you see in this elevation, but pretty much all the other walls. I would say this building probably was a valuable historic and architectural resource at one time. That time has passed. It's too far gone. You can see windows have been filled in, new openings have been created, new roof been put up top of it. Laura talked about the fact that they added the building in between the two buildings. So in other words, you have two sloping roofs that drain onto a low roof. And then the water's got to somehow travel the whole distance of the building to the south to drain. Now, Anthony can tell you that's not probably a roof design that he recommends. So I'll just be quiet for a minute and see if anybody has any questions for me.
These cases come before us, and our exceptions are based on what is presented. And so the times that this has been brought before us, we have been saying repeatedly, show us that what is being said actually has the backing of a professional. And John, I've seen letters come before us from structural engineers that I took exception to, but I respected their stamp, and they know more than I do. But I read your letter in detail, and it provided exactly what I needed to hear. And I think the way that you described it and the way that you explained where this building is in its life has allowed me to feel comfortable with the fact that it's past its point of staying. And that's my opinion. But I appreciate the fact that this is what we need in order to make these decisions, and in the absence of real professional backing, we have to push back, and we have to deny applications. So I appreciate your letter. I appreciate your research, and I appreciate the way that you documented it, because it helped us make some judgment calls.
Thank you.
I'm going to bounce off of Tony too. Yeah, after reading your letter, it was very helpful. Anything that is a threat to the public safety or health is concerning to me. So we want to make sure that we properly take care of that. And I appreciate the extra steps that the owner took and you took in your research. Thank you.
I just have one more question for you.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So, just to be abundantly clear, I think your letter insinuated, but would you say in your professional opinion that the structure presents an imminent threat to public health and safety?
That's kind of a tried expression. I would say imminent in that, is it imminent in that it's going to happen today or tomorrow? No. Is it imminent in that it's just a matter of time? Yes. And that's barring, some kind of unforeseen, like if we got a really good tremor, seismic activity, then that unreinforced masonry wall would be much more likely to give way. For example, there was a number of these type of buildings with the load-bearing brick walls and the bowstring trusses, that when the Murrah bombing happened, buildings that were blocks and blocks off to the east or whatever, that had great damage, and one that collapsed. So it would take something like that.
And you would say that a decent amount of this current status is from decades of kind of not taking care of this thing and the erosion on the brick on the east because of the paint. And I mean, this is years of this happening.
Yes, I would say that's true.
Years of neglect have landed us here. And the owner of the building has owned the building for nearly 50 years. So the current owner of the building has neglected the building and has allowed it to get into its current state.
Sure.
Hi, like John said, my name is Savannah Vogler. I am the third youngest generation of Vineyard Vogler, owner of this property as well as the rest of the properties on this entire block. I do want to kind of go off what John said. Myself, my sister, my parents, we all live in historic homes that were built in the 1900s. We take great pride in taking care of those homes, preserving them and their historical beauty, character. I've convinced my fiance that historic homes are better than new homes. Like I said, with the other buildings on this block that we own, we have ensured to preserve them by putting all new roofs on them. We have put a coating on iron beams for the one building that does not have a roof on it. The building directly to the west of this building actually has, you can kind of see it in the back far side, actually has a domed roof on it. We actually redomed that roof when we put it on, when we redid the roof, just to make sure that that historical characteristic was preserved. We worked with a development company a few years back. Things did fall through, but they wanted to do the exact same thing as we hope to do in the future. Tear down this building and keep the other beautiful buildings as they are, just make them a little bit more refreshed and lively. Backing off what John said more, we do have Ozarka to the east and Lively to the north. With Oklahoma City's growing state, there are so many crowds that are always down in this area, like example, the Thunder Parade. There were cars everywhere, people everywhere. Lively, always having events. This building really serves as a very large safety risk. We would hate for it to fall on one of the Ozarka trucks or one of their employees, and we would also hate for it to fall on any people trying to go out and have a nice time at Lively. We have done our best to preserve the entire property, and this building is just kind of past its stage of preserving. So we really take pride, like I said, in preserving historical buildings. It's a hobby. We do it every weekend on our homes, and we've put a lot of time and effort in this. This building in particular holds a very special place in my family's heart, like John mentioned earlier. We started our family business, or my grandpa did, and we worked in this building. I grew up in this building. My grandpa started it in the early 80s, and we worked in it until we were too big to function out of it and moved out. So it does hold a very special place in our heart, and it's very sad that this is a decision that we feel needs to happen. But I don't feel as though we have neglected it. I think that we have preserved it for as long as we possibly can. So I will leave that with you all. Thank you for your consideration, and if you have any questions.
I've got one more. So you are abundantly clear that the downtown design regulations do not encourage corner parking lots on corner lots?
Yes, it will not be a parking lot, or it will not be a parking structure. The future, or the past development plans, they wanted to tear it down and build a multi-story building.
Thank you for your insight. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this today? Any questions or comments before a motion? Okay.
I'll move to approve the application on the basis that the project complies with the regulations and guidelines of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinances referenced in section C and D of the staff report.
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
I'm going to
Take a brief
I'm going to need to
pause.
recuse myself.
We'll take a brief pause.
We're going to take a brief pause. Tony needs to.
Okay.
Okay, then.
Okay, we'll move to item number 7, other business. A will be BOA-16059.
I'm sorry. Laura Griggs, Planning Department. I forgot to do that when I first started. So normally you don't see a BOA case by itself, but this project's a little different, and they wanted to make sure that they were going to be able to get variances to, this is from the maximum setback from the street right-of-way of 10 feet for structures. And so that would apply to both the proposed arena building and a parking structure that they're proposing. So obviously, the pictures I took off Google Earth because it's a demolition zone at the moment. And so I guess we could say we can reminisce over these photos as we go through. So this is actually a 4-block area where the old convention center / Prairie Surf Studios is located. And you previously approved the CA for the demolition, and that was the end of last year. And they got started in, I think, December, January, something like that. So the current structure, as you can tell from both the aerial and looking at these, does not meet the maximum 10-foot. It obviously was constructed before 2007 when the Downtown Design District was created. And then we have across the street, you have Paycom, and we have parking lots and more parking lots. You have Myriad Gardens. And then you're looking toward Devon Tower. And my mind just went blank. That building is the Cole Court, that's it, right. And then you have where Channel 9 Studios is now, which is across the street. And then across EK Gaylord, we have the Santa Fe Station. And we also have the hotel. And okay, so we'll go back and just look at the aerial. So, yes, because the current building opened in 1972, so that was way before we had any type of design district requirements downtown. And I gave you some of the history, which I find fascinating. And then the issue that we are discussing for the variance that they need deals with the requirement that the first 2 floors of new construction shall be placed at or within 10 feet of the street right away. It does allow for 40% of the building on their primary frontage. Now, obviously, this site has 4 street frontages, but the 40% allowance is just on the primary street frontage. It could be set back more for plazas, entryways, that kind of thing. So the BOA application stated the scale and proposed use of the site are distinct from typical developments within downtown Oklahoma City, making this project unique in both form and function. The functional demands of an arena differ significantly from other commercial or mixed-use buildings commonly found in downtown. Due to the building's occupancy load, security protocols, and event-driven access control, the arena must incorporate multiple entry points and significantly larger gathering spaces outside these entrances. These open areas are critical to safely accommodate large crowds congregating before and after events. Strictly enforcing the 10-foot setback requirement on all frontages would severely limit the ability to provide adequate pedestrian circulation. This would result in unsafe crowding conditions and force spillover into adjacent streets, creating conflicts between pedestrians and vehicular traffic and compromising public safety. So they included with their application just I'll call it a draft because we don't have the CA yet for this building, to basically show around building it's going to be located approximately here, and you could see how far back it sets. I think we've learned, and then they have the renderings for that, I think we learned especially what happened when they won the championship, what crowds downtown really are. And you look at Paycom, and you can see Paycom from this view. It doesn't meet the 10-foot setback. And we have seen what that looks like during their games and how that handles stuff. So staff actually acknowledges that our criteria doesn't meet every single type of development. And when you have an arena situation where you're expecting large crowds and then you're going to have, say, something called, oh, maybe Thunder Alley, and you need space for that, and all the people that are going to show up before the game you definitely are going to have to be further back than 10 feet. So I might also point out that that 10 foot is for all structures. So even if there's a structure between something and a street frontage, it's still supposed to meet that if they're not connected. And so that's why they need the setback for both the parking structure and for the arena itself. So staff is recommending you provide approval to the Board of Adjustment, and that meeting is actually this afternoon. So, and the applicant is here. Do you have any questions for me?
No questions.
Okay.
Would the applicant like to speak on this?
Hang on, let me get there.
Good morning, Purvi Patel with Wallace Design Collective. The address is 410 North Walnut, Suite 200, Oklahoma City. We do have a presentation before I go into the variance details. Jonathan Henry with TVS will present the overall project to you, just to kind of give you an idea of the concept that we're looking at. As Laura mentioned, we'll be back in front of the board, or the commission, to get the CA for the overall project. We just need to ensure that we can get the setbacks that we need before we go into further design. So I'll let Jonathan do a quick presentation, and then I'll be back. Okay, that's
So I
fine.
think you can just drag it, or you can,
Okay,
there were two of those.
yeah, they're both there.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Good morning, Design Commission. Jonathan Henry. I'm an associate principal at TVS Design. We are the architect of record for the new arena, and we're working with Manica as the design architect. We wanted to provide you guys kind of just informal introduction to the overall pieces of the project, so you can get an understanding of where the buildings sit and how they function within the site. Here you can see that the building is 360 degrees. It's a round building, symmetrical, and it's got a glass exterior along the entirety of the building. That allows a lot of views for all the activity that's happening on the inside. And then when they're on the inside attending a game, you get to see the pretty good vistas in and around the city. On the west or on the east side of the project, you'll see that we've got a parking structure. Our plan is to permit these two buildings separately. So we are identifying these setbacks as independent structures. This parking structure will have 550 spaces. 100 of those spaces will be dedicated to VIP and player parking. Let's see. So this is a view from the northwest corner, and I'll kind of orient you guys a little bit on what's happening around the building. On the right-hand side, you can see the area that's in front of this curvature that we're calling Thunder Alley. The intent there is an on-grade connection with Myriad Gardens to help create a pedestrian area for celebrations and entrance into the team shop. And it'll host events pre-game before everything opens and everyone's allowed on the inside. On this corner too, you can see that there's an elevated staircase that goes to the entry of the building. The event floor is 12 feet below grade, so that when you come into the building on the main concourse floor, you'll come in kind of at a higher elevation than walk down into the building when you get on site. On the opposite corner, this is the southeast corner. You can see the parking deck is on the right, and there's an on-grade entrance that leads you to the opposite corner. From the activity that's happening around the site, we do anticipate that 30% of the access to this building will be from this corner. We think that 30% will be from this corner, and the final corner on the west side will also have a 30% of the traffic coming in. On the northeast side, you can see here, this is our loading dock. It is set at that -12 feet below grade. so that you have a direct entrance onto that event floor from the parking deck. So, all right. And here's a couple of views from the pedestrian side of it. Excellent. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you.
I'll just use this image real quick. As Jonathan and Laura both presented, we do have a circular building, and so in order to meet the maximum setback that we'll need, we had to draw a square within the building, because a curvature would then go into the setbacks we're requesting, and that's the reason you see the 281-foot setback from Gaylord for the arena building, 152 from Reno. So we listed very specific setbacks that we're looking at for both the arena and the parking garage itself. I think everything else has been covered. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
No questions from us. Anybody else in the audience that would like to speak on this? If not, I think the setback adjustment that we are looking to approve today is worth it, with the extent of the improvements to the pedestrian realm and what it is going to create in downtown Oklahoma City. So thank you for bringing this to us today and sharing the vision and thoughts. Do we have any other comments from the commission?
I think it's a unique program on a unique site that requires a unique solution that fits outside the usual rules and guidelines that we've established, and I think it's an appropriate solution given that context.
Yes.
I will make a motion to recommend approval.
No, well, provide a recommendation. Yeah, I'd just read, if you could. I can give you mine if you want to read it.
Yeah.
Got it. I make a motion to provide a recommendation of approval to the Board of Adjustment on the basis that the request complies with the intent of the Downtown Design District zoning ordinance as referenced in Section C of the staff report.
Sarur, second.
And it passes. Thank you. And we'll pause as well. Allow Tony to rejoin us.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, we'll move to
Oh, that didn't work.
item B with other business,
I got it. I forgot the next step. Let me get to
informational
it.
presentation.
Right there. Actually, I thought the next thing is not the next thing, the agenda. I was gone when we had an adjustment, and I thought the calendar was next. Sorry.
I show the calendar as item C. You'll follow this.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for your time and attention this morning. My name is Ben DeCooper. I'm an architect at Bootser Architects and Urbanism. Hans and Tori, the co-founders of Bootser Architects and Urbanism, they could be here today. They are traveling out of state for a funeral. We do have our client present today, Kerry Watkins, President and CEO of the Oklahoma City National Memorial Museum, as well as Chris Fleming, incoming chair of the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum. We are here today for a preliminary presentation to gauge your feedback. We submitted our CA application on Tuesday and will be returning for the October 16th meeting. Our project is called Forward, in part because it is intended to programmatically provide a fuller context for the existing museum's narrative, currently set up as a series of chapters. And our brief entailed two primary objectives. One was to create a larger lobby space to meet the security demands of today while providing and maintaining a welcoming environment. And also to create a museum that offers views in and out of the memorial. Our client has shared with us that from their experience, there are visitors to the memorial grounds who leave the site without realizing that there was a museum experience to be had at the corner of Northwest 6th and Harvey. So we've, in part, our proposal includes a transparent south facade, and we've prioritized the vertical circulation at this facade so that if you're visiting and you're at the reflecting pool and viewing the addition, you'll see activity, and we hope that this will not only increase awareness of the museum, but also increase visitation. So with this brief, we had a challenge of balancing the client's programmatic needs as well as preserving the important public and symbolic elements of the memorial grounds, which include, I have a list here, and are y'all able to see my cursor? Okay. The children's area. So this is an existing site plan, and some of the symbolic elements on the memorial grounds include a children's area, the rescuer's orchard, which is composed primarily of amber maple and Chinese pistache trees, a flagstone path from Northwest 6th Street to the reflecting pool. So our task became, how do we preserve these important public amenities while at the same time meeting our clients' programmatic needs? Additionally, it's important to address the historic nature of the site. Before the tragic April 1995 bombing, the site was occupied by a warehouse low-rise structure where the presses of the Journal-Record newspaper were located. And after the bombing, this area was cleared to make way for these symbolic elements, as well as to provide a view shed from Northwest 6th to the memorial grounds. And as we've seen, this serves as a front porch of sorts for the memorial during key city events, whether it be the marathon or recently with the Oklahoma City Thunder Parade. People gather here, and we want to preserve that as much as possible. So with the proposed addition, we are adapting the children's area in the flagstone path. The material will still be of the same sandstone, sugarloaf sandstone, and let's see. The construction site is very tight. We've been working closely with our construction manager, Lippert Bros. They have been the contractor that has worked on the memorial since its conception in 1998 to preserve as many trees as possible. Our construction fence will make sure that the 4 trees at the corner of Northwest 6th and Harvey, that their drip lines are free and outside of the bounds of the construction fence, so that we hope to not damage their root systems with compaction. We will spade the 11 trees remaining within the construction fence, and our hope is to be able to replant 4 from that spade inventory. Here are some color-coded spaces within the addition, and this is just to kind of show that when negotiating our clients' programmatic needs, we are doubling the existing square footage of their existing lobby, almost actually 2.5 times. And let's see, building materials, we are proposing an architectural metal panel from Morin Core that's frequently found on AIA award-winning buildings across the country. The metal panels are foreseen to be a light bronze brown color, akin to the color of the Memorial Gates of Time. The proportioning of the facade learns from those gates as well, similar yet different. The massing clearly communicates it is an addition to the historic structure, the Journal Record building to the east. Building signage, the attached building signage that we're proposing, we understand it's over the allowed 400 square foot max and will require a variance. We think it's incredibly important, not only because of the aforementioned concern of visitors to the memorial realizing that there is a museum, but also just to say that the memorial is a powerful contributor to the local economy. It's the most visited tourist attraction in the state of Oklahoma, and we want to ensure that the museum attendance is maintained, and the client believes that this is a critical component for their continued success. Freestanding signage, we're introducing a concrete low wall along 6th that will include directly applied aluminum letters, and then also a site wall along the north that will help define a new amenity of sorts, which is an arrival court, so that at the bus drop-off, if you have a large school group, they can kind of convene here. We're going to take some of the existing Hackett stone benches on site and relocate them here. This is just more elevations showing the intended use of our materials along this lower floor volume. In addition to storefront glazing, we'll have sandstone, the same Sugarloaf as the existing paving. Here's more information on the signage, its material, means of application, color. Regarding timeline, we are hoping to issue construction documents November 7th, and the client is hopeful that the museum will be open to the public April of 2027. At this time, we invite pertinent questions and feedback on the current proposal.
Thank you, Ben. I do have one just clarification. With the, I think it was referred to the child's area or children's area.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate a little bit on what that space is?
Yeah. So it's a paved area, the same sandstone as elsewhere on the flagstone path, and then there's Vermont slate in the paving as well that acts as a chalkboard that has been there since 1998. So we will be shifting it from this location slightly westwards. And another reason for adding this concrete low wall and signage is not only for the sake of signage, but also just added protection from the public way.
Great, and that's where I was leading to. I was going to ask, I just saw the wall briefly, didn't quite see the height of that wall.
Okay.
I don't know if you're able to show that slide again.
Yeah. Let's see here. Currently, we have it dimensioned at 2.6.
Great. I'm glad y'all thought about the separation and safety of the children in that space. That was a concern of mine, but it is addressed nicely. Will there be some kind of railing or anything like that right there?
We have a collection of Hackett stone, the same Hackett stone as the benches, bollards along this sidewalk. We have not proposed a fence. There is a low wall that also includes the children's tiles, so they like hand-painted imagery that students submitted around the time of the bombing that were used and ended up cladding this concrete low wall. We're going to carefully salvage as many as possible from the existing low wall to reuse them. And the memorial also has additional in their archives that we'll be able to pull from as well.
Great. Yeah, that was a really nice feature. I liked that as well. I would just have a slight concern about children going to the wall that you're proposing and falling off or jumping off, and mom or dad not being able to see the child if they are hiding behind a wall or something. just with us shifting it forward closer to vehicular traffic.
Okay.
I don't necessarily have a solution. It's just something to think about because that does occur. I do a lot of playground and municipal work, and this is something that constantly comes up for us, making sure that we are providing the most safe experience for the children.
Okay.
And visibility when they're in the play space or children's focused area for programming. So that's just a comment. Also, I'm very thrilled to hear that y'all are doing some extra service to the trees for tree protection. Having the shade canopy and trees in our downtown space is crucial for comfort and the beauty of our downtown. So thank you for paying attention to that, and also reusing some of the larger trees on site. The only other thing I would say is the trees that are being spaded, if we could just make sure that when we are relocating them, that they get that extra care and attention to make sure that or treatments needed to the roots to make sure that they are flourishing to the best of their ability. But I think the plan is lovely. Thanks for sharing today.
Thank you.
I think it's beautiful, and I think it's an amazing thing that you're trying to do, which is the memorial is a quiet place that honors the 168, and the museum is an educational tool that is the light, but also an educational tool to not let humanity slide backwards. And I think it is so sensitive to the surroundings and timeless, but will function in the way that it's been proposed, which is gain more visitors, which I think is a crucially important thing. And I just thank you for doing this architecturally, and I thank the museum for continuing the work that you're doing in this manner.
Thank you.
Not to lengthen it, but I'll agree with all the sentiments and just say how much we appreciate you bringing this to us so that we can provide comment early. We have nothing to share that we would want to direct you in any certain way, but it's always helpful when we have this opportunity to see things early. So thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Sorry, just to reinforce, I think you talked about signage and being over what would be allowable. And as long as it is continued to be done in a very timeless, sophisticated way that doesn't have EMDs or things like that, which we've established a view shed in the 9 blocks surrounding this that aren't allowed also, I think continuing down that path is important.
Okay. All right.
So I'm switching back. Is there anything that we need to do today for this?
No, there's no action to be taken. This is just informational, and then you'll see the application, we think, next month.
Okay, great. Thank you for presenting
Right.
today.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
coming. So we'll move to item C, which is the 2026 Downtown Design Commission meeting schedule. Anybody else in the audience would like, actually, before we move to item
We didn't
C?
have to move any meeting dates. They all fell on the third Thursday of the month.
Okay.
So we just need you to approve it so we can check that off our list.
Laura, but,
Anybody else want to speak?
I'm sorry.
yes. Okay, thank you. We just wanted to double check. We jumped right on to our schedule. Okay. Any motion for our schedule?
I'll move to approve the proposed 2026 calendar year schedule.
Second.
And that passes.
Thank you.
We'll move to item 8, communications, administrative approval reports. There are none for Bricktown, but a couple for downtown.
Well, and more houses being constructed down between I-40 and the river. If you haven't been down there, you ought to. And I'm currently, I have 2 or 3 that I'm working on, additional ones. So, other than that, Signs, apparently everybody just wants signs, more signs.
Thank you. We'll go to item B then, comments from planning department staff.
It looks like we have a meeting next month, and I appreciate all of you coming today. Thank you so much. Because we thought we were going to have all 5 of you, so we thought we had a cushion. But anyway, and we have no news.
Okay. Comments from commission members. I actually sent an email to Mayor Holt this morning, just encouraging the need for another member or 2 or whatever we're allowed, just to help with our quorum and diversity for our commission, because I think the more diverse we are and the more people we have, the better we can serve our city. So I'll report back if I hear anything, but I just felt like we've been waiting a really long time. So
Well, and we appreciate Tony. We no longer have the requirement that somebody serves on both urban design and downtown, but we asked him if he could stay on downtown until we got our new members. We didn't realize it was going to be this long.
yeah.
So thank you, Tony.
Okay. Well, we will move to item D, next meeting date. The next regular commission meeting is Friday, October 16th, 2025. New applications were to be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. Revisions and information on continued projects are to be submitted by Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Correction, our next regular commission meeting is Thursday,
What'd I do?
not on a Friday.
Oh.
We're all good.
It says Friday, none of us noticed.
We got
Apologies.
you. Thursday it is. And with
Look at
that,
that so many times, and
and
there's so
with
many people
that,
that
we'll
looks
be
at it.
adjourned.
Thank you for catching that.